Well, hello and welcome to the Tennis Podcast, coming to you from the Media Garden cum Wind Tunnel at the Billie Jean King National Tennis Centre on day 5 of the US Open, a day that isn't quite done yet. There are a few matches still on court, and one of those matches involves Amanda Anisimova. So David is here. Hello, David.
Hello, yeah. I'm here, and all present and accounted for and ready to go. Talk
Never
about tennis.
In doubt. Is Matt Roberts here? I hear you ask.
Are you kidding? It's Pride Night. It's Anisimova playing. I've got Faye, I've got Rose. It's basically Matt Roberts night at the US Open.
Yeah,
I've torn myself away from Armstrong. You've got it on a screen for me.
Yeah, we bribed him with his favourite yoghurt and a glass of wine.
And we had a compromise.
Yeah.
You are good people.
It's like you've been upgraded to business class again. Except this time there is tennis to watch.
Exactly.
We let him have a set in person. A set she won, thank goodness.
Yeah, so
just about.
A slightly distracted Matt Roberts on tonight's podcast, but a slightly distracted Matt Roberts is still pretty much better than anybody else, so we will take it on this occasion. Right, look, there's only one place to start tonight, isn't there? As there's going to be, I feel like, every other night, so long as Coco Gauff is still in this tournament, because tennis-wise, tournament-wise, it is starting to feel like the Coco Gauff show this tournament, and not because she looks like she's going to win this title, but just because of the all-consuming nature of her story and her aura and the way she is somehow winning the matches that she's playing at the moment. Straight sets tonight for her over Donna Vekic, 7-6, 6-2. One of the most horrific tennis matches I've ever seen, particularly that first set. One of the worst sets of tennis I've ever seen. Obviously utterly compelling. Donna Vekic was injured. She had a medical timeout on her right upper arm before going out to serve for the set at 6-5. At this point, Coco Gauff is in tears, kind of heaving with sobs. She goes out to practice her serves because, you know, that is an area of her game that's not going well at the moment. She practices her serves during the medical timeout. She ends up breaking back and somehow stealing that set, and then the second set is kind of less traumatic for everybody involved apart from Donna Vekic, but also a lot less competitive. Coco Gauff has described this match, David, in press just now, as the worst I've ever felt on court, and I think she means that in an all-encompassing way. I think she means that in terms of her tennis, her emotions, her anxiety. It is absolutely unreal that she's coming through these matches.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else in the world that could be doing it. To feel as badly about her game coming into this tournament, to overhaul her team, to bring in the biomechanist who solved Aryna Sabalenka's 20-something double faults a match issue in order to try to achieve something similar herself, literally days away from the US Open, a tournament she's won 2 years ago, and one she has made it very clear over the last few days is one that brings its own anxieties, its own pressures to her specifically, because she is such a big deal. She is the biggest name in this tournament in this country, and you know, we may well get to the final weekend and feel like an Alcaraz-Sinner final has become the story, but that feels inevitable, or as close to inevitable as you could get. And actually the next sort of 7 to 10 days until that happens don't feel that notable by comparison to this, because this is a player, as I said, the biggest name in the draw for America, who in the second round has basically said she kind of had a panic attack on the court because she is so struggling to find a game. She is so much struggling to handle everything that's coming at her just at the moment, and yet she's still doing it. That's what is astonishing, is she is finding a way to gather herself. She's in tears in that set several times, both when she's hitting tennis balls and with her head in a towel. Gives a very emotional post-match interview in which she cries again. We see her shaking, her hand shaking, and she said, I think it is anxiety in the moment. And yet she's managed to gather herself and beat Donna Vekic. Now, maybe an absolutely fully fit and fully firing Donna Vekic might have won today, but Vekic hit some good shots, and they were still absorbed, and she still won. There's just nobody else like Coco Gauff in that regard. But it is an ordeal to watch it. I mean, that first set, I didn't really want to look at it. It made me feel awkward and weird.
Yeah, I was in the stadium, and it was really, really strange, the atmosphere. It was a big night tonight here. Coco Gauff headlining the night session. That makes it kind of always blockbuster here at the US Open. It was also Pride night, and they had a lot of big stars from the LGBTQ plus community. Andrew Scott was on the front row, Cody Rigsby behind him, Anna Wintour was there too. And yet I was expecting them to show all these celebrities on the Jumbotron, at the change of ends as they do, and for them to do big elaborate waves to the crowd and for the crowd to go wild. And they didn't do any of that. And I think it's because it didn't feel right, it felt appropriate. I actually think if that was a conscious decision, I'm assuming it was, that was really the right one, because it was a strange vibe in there. And look, the stats are strange. Coco Gauff is the player having total crisis about her serve, as big a crisis as you'll ever see, really, over one shot from a Grand Slam champion, maybe barring the period that didn't Sara Errani just completely lose her serve for a while and start exclusively underarm serving?
Yes, she lost her ball toss,
right,
which is a
pretty important.
Bit of a blow.
I mean, there were Errani matches where she was aborting.
Yes,
I mean, dozens of ball tosses.
So maybe apart from that situation, this is as big a sort of mechanical crisis as I think you'll see. And yet you look at the stats, Donna Vekic out double faulted her 10-8. Her first serve percentage was way lower. Coco Gauff's first serve percentage was 69%. She was winning 64% of the points. This all sounds quite good. Okay, 8 double faults, but she'd assigned for that before the tournament, and yet there's just so much more to the situation than those stats, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. I think the stat that jumped out to me was 1 in every 5 points in the first set was a double fault between them, and you were just constantly worrying about the double fault coming from either player or an error from the back of the court. It was just such an uncomfortable watch. I suppose what I'm wondering, because I wasn't in the Coco Gauff press conference like you were, did she say anything about how it might have been useful to get through this? Is she expecting to feel any better from here? Because it almost felt like exposure therapy today, where it was there for all to see. She had the tears, and actually she played a lot better in the second set after she'd won the first and gone off court. And I know that was also largely to do with Donna Vekic still playing really, really poorly in that second set, but it almost seemed to me like she came through something today, but the way you're looking at me suggests maybe not.
I think it's hope rather than expectation. But I think there's also a part of her brain that says, well, I didn't play that well here and won the title 2 years ago. Anything is possible for me. She knows she is different to other tennis players in terms of how she can win. You texted the group after that first set. That was the worst set of tennis I've ever seen. So, of course, Coco Gauff won it.
Yeah.
She's different, and she knows that, but I don't think she's expecting the serve to suddenly click in the next match.
Something she said that really struck home to me is, I don't do false positive. I don't just pretend. She says, and I was very clear with that, about that with Gavin, in regard to the person who's trying to help sort her serve out. She says, if I'm feeling negative about things, I'm just going to go with that. I can fool myself, or I try to put the best face on it during a match for obvious reasons. But she's a realist, I think, but you still wouldn't completely count her out.
Oh, I don't.
That's the thing. I really don't. I don't know how she does it.
But it's extraordinary.
There's a lot of tangible evidence out there of her winning big titles without playing anything close to her best tennis.
What really struck me tonight, and particularly in the press conference, was I was thinking back to my takes that I gave on the show and what my thoughts were after her pre-tournament press conference, when she was incredibly open about this decision to hire Gavin McMillan and the timing not being ideal, but the feeling of it was now or never. He became available. I didn't want to play a Grand Slam knowing that I was going to make the change afterwards. It's like, staying with somebody you know you're going to break up with because you've got a wedding and you need a +1. No, I'd rather live my truth. And I really, really get that. And she ended up talking, or my takeaway from her pre-tournament press conference is, given all of that, I'm just going to treat this US Open as kind of a free hit. No expectations on myself. This is the right decision for me in the long term. I can't expect anything from myself in the short term. So free hit, house money. And I really think she believed that in the moment. And I think that's how she wants to feel. But I had forgotten and underestimated just how big a deal Coco Gauff is here. Like, of course, her home Grand Slam is going to be the biggest one for her, but it's so much bigger than all the others. So much bigger. Like, she's everything here. She takes up all the oxygen around this huge tennis complex when she's on the court, and any day that she's playing, any day that she's creating a story. And I think it is just impossible to treat it as a free hit. She wants this one more than any of the others. She wants to prove that 2 years ago wasn't a fluke, which we all know it wasn't, but that is how she feels, and she can't change that about herself as much as she'd like to take the pressure off herself. I don't think that's possible. So I think that's the tussle. I think she knows she should be able to treat it that way. And I'm sure that's what the chat is behind the scenes. I'm sure that's what Gavin's saying. He's like, this is the right thing to do. If it doesn't click this week, that's fine. It's not about this week, it's about the long term. But when you're here and you're in it and the crowd are going wild and ESPN are just wanting to put you on their screens at every possible opportunity, she's bigger than all the other Americans put together. Like, it's just different.
She let us in a little bit on how she handles it. She said I try to laugh at it. She uses self-deprecating humour in order to just sort of kind of relax a little bit, and it seems to work for her. She made us all chuckle in the press conference in response to Catherine's question about this new technical coach, Gavin, about his age, and said,
I didn't ask about Gavin's age,
no,
to be clear.
She just said, though, that he's really honest, because you get to a certain age, don't you, when you just don't care anymore, and you just say whatever's on your mind.
I said, what's the threshold?
What did she say?
50?
She originally said 45.
When she said 50, I found myself nodding.
And then she started throwing her parents under the bus. She was like, I feel like that's where my dad is now, and I can hear my mum sounding more and more like my grandma. And then she was like, in a good way. They just don't really care anymore. It was she's incredible how she can be that effusive when she's clearly in a moment of crisis and sadness about her game. Like, there is real sadness in there that this is where she wants to be at her best and she is unable to be. But I still think she might win the title. Like, probably not, but maybe. She's got Magdalena Frech next.
I don't really have any Magdalena Frech takes.
I mean, that much is clear from the silence when I said her name, Matt. Magdalena Frech.
I mean,
how much can she? I guess not so much in terms of her game, but can she be the player to cope with the Coco Gauff show and the force of nature that she is here?
I don't think she'll be like massively overawed by it. I think I think her thing is kind of approaching every match the same, really. She's a gritty competitor herself. She's got way fewer weapons than Coco Gauff. She has to constantly fight tooth and nail to win points and win matches. She's a bit of a magnet for really long, drawn-out matches. So strap yourselves in.
Even distracted by Amanda Anisimova, who's got Magdalena Frech takes.
I'm already looking forward to round 4, you see. That's what it is.
Right.
Which would be, of course, Coco Gauff against Naomi Osaka. Does that mean you've seen enough today in her 6-3, 6-1 defeat of Hailey Baptiste, David, to feel very confident that she'll get there, Naomi Osaka?
Yeah, it would be Daria Kasatkina in the next round, who came dramatically back from a heavy deficit today. I think 5-2 down she was, and she won through 7-5 in the third. I do feel that Naomi Osaka in this form is going to win that match. Look, I've said she's going to win the title, and I did watch her today. I mean, look, Hailey Baptiste was short of her best. It was horribly blustery, windy conditions, and it's really windy where we're sitting right now. And inside Louis Armstrong Arena, there was a real heavy wind behind you from one end of the court, the end that we sit in our press seats, and you could see the players having to try to adjust to control the ball down that end. And Baptiste would play some astonishingly constructed rallies. She's got a really heavy forehand. When she really whips through it was knocking Osaka back on her heels, and there were some clean winners, and there's some lovely slice backhands, and she finishes some points at the net with crisp volleys. But she was having to play really well to put those together, and they were isolated. Loads of double faults as well from Baptiste. Osaka, she was solid today, and she talked in the press conference about how she feels match tough now. And after all those matches in Canada, now a couple here, I think she's pretty much where she wants to be. The attitude was way better. She wasn't down on herself today. The sound of her hitting a tennis ball is different. There's a sort of pop when she hits the ball. It's so crisp. It's so much out of the centre of the racket. And I remember that from when she was winning the Australian Open the last time. And I just think she's coming into form, so I think we're going to get Coco Gauff against Naomi Osaka, and I really hope we do, because that is what it's all about.
David, are you invested enough in Naomi Osaka here because of your prediction to have learned what a labubu is yet?
I've seen what it is. I've seen hers. It's that little sparkly
she's
whatever.
Got multiple.
Yeah, she's got. It was a. Went with the purple dress
that
today.
Don't know. For example, in David and Ros Whittaker.
Yeah.
Tell them what a labubu is.
Well, I don't really know what it is, but looking at what she'd got, it was a sparkly little toy of some description. And a couple of nights ago, when she was wearing her evening session outfit, which was all orange, the labubu was orange, and today it was purple to go with her purple dress.
And they've got excellent names.
One was
Jean Bling.
Billie Jean Bling, yeah.
And Arthur Flash.
I am a big fan of the name. I'm not into labubus, but I do like the names.
I'd never heard of them until 2 days ago because
that doesn't surprise me, David.
No, there's a lot of things
a trend sweeping the world.
I mean, some of the names you've told me about today I'd never heard of, but anyway, we're getting there. And yes, I'm encouraged for her, even more than I was at the start of the tournament.
Amanda Anisimova is setting a break up. Matt Roberts breathes a sigh of relief. Are you ready to give some Swiatek takes, Matt?
Let's do it. This was a surprise.
Unexpectedly good match.
Yeah, I love it when a match does that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a match I was really looking at on the order of play.
Nobody was.
And suddenly it took up quite a lot of my day.
Yeah, from double bagel watch to upset watch. 6-1, 4-6, 6-4 for Swiatek over the world number 66, Susan Lamans, to set up a third-round meeting with Anna Kalinskaya. I guess the question here is, could this be a match that if Swiatek does lose at some stage or not win the tournament, we go back and look at and say, well, the signs were there, that she wasn't quite where we thought she was, or whatever it might be? Or was this more just about the depth in women's tennis, and the fact that this, if someone plays well enough, then this can happen to anyone, including Iga Swiatek?
Or potentially a third option, where...
I should have run the two options by you, but you were busy watching Amanda Anisimova, so here we are.
Potentially a third option where it feels a bit like the Katie McNally match at Wimbledon, which was also in the second round, the only time she dropped a set in that tournament. And you looked back on it... I didn't look back on that necessarily and think, well, that was all down to how Katie McNally played. I think she did well that day. I think she was impressive. But we didn't end up looking back on it either in terms of, well, that was a warning sign that she wasn't going to win the tournament, because she did go on to win the tournament. It just happened to be a match on the road to the title where her level wasn't as good as the other times. And I think part of that was what Susan Lamons did. I was quite impressed with her. She was really, well, I used that word earlier about frech, but I'll say it about Lamons, like gritty, like really prepared to rally, prepared to make life difficult for Iga Swiatek. What happened to Swiatek, though, or my sense anyway, was that she lost her serve in this match, and her serve has been such a fundamental part of her game in the last couple of months or so, since her form has really picked up. Not only has it, I think, instilled some confidence in her game, but actually it's been such a good set-up shot for her. It's set up rallies, it's set up so she can take charge. She wasn't really able to do that today. She was having to grind it out, and Lamons wasn't giving her an awful lot of pace. She was standing really deep in the court, and it was a struggle to get the ball by her, and she sort of lost her forehand a bit as well. And it did make you think, wow, if Iga Swiatek had a drop shot, like, that would be such a game changer. And, you know, even for a six-time major champion, I feel like it would kind of reform, just revolutionise her game and take her to an even greater level, because opponents really would be stuck in terms of what to do against her. But she had all this court space, but she wasn't using the drop shot at all, and therefore she was ending up in a lot of rallies, and she wasn't quite feeling the ball on the forehand. And yeah, she lost her serve a lot in this match, at least 5 times. I've got here in my notes broken 5 times. I don't think there was another time, but still, that's a lot. So that was my sense, that she just wasn't really playing quite as well today through that second set. She lost her serve, and things sort of went away from there. But I do think maybe a few months ago she would have got more stressed out by that. She got it together in the third set. She wasn't quite able to properly stamp her authority on it. She went up a double break and immediately got broken back again. But she won it. She closed it out, and given everything we've seen from Swiatek in the last couple of months, I tend to go the way of seeing this as probably a little bit of a one-off. I hope not a sort of trend to, the serve being an issue again. But it has added a bit of intrigue to Iga Swiatek, and now she plays Anna Kalinskaya, who is more in the mould of opponent that I would be on a little bit of alert for Swiatek against. Lamons is not a big power player, and those tend to be the ones. Kalinskaya is not a huge power player, but she's a very clean striker of the ball. She's
one of those smooth, flat
before.
hitters.
Exactly.
Just doesn't quite have the power of a Rybakina.
Right, but she can be dangerous, and she's playing really well here. I think
she's got a great dog.
I saw Bella today.
Yeah, Bella's here.
Yeah, she.
Oh, you saw her with your own eyes?
Yes.
Is she as good in the flesh?
She's a delight. She's tiny, teeny tiny.
She's a miniature Dachshund, David, a sausage dog.
Oh, right.
Blonde one.
Like Neville.
Yes, very different in appearance. She's a long-haired blondie, whereas Neville is brown and tan. But yes, same vibe. Equally cute. Yeah, she's a lovely dog, and I hope she'll be courtside for that match with Iga Swiatek.
Because if she is, Catherine will be too.
You'd go with Matt's option 3 on your Swiatek takes?
Yeah, I think so. I don't disagree with Matt too often. I mean,
game set match with a backhand winner.
Oh, we're talking about Amanda Anisimova, folks.
Who does she play next?
Jacqueline Christian.
Now, She is in my fantasy team, but I would call that a good draw for week 2 of a slam.
I wouldn't disagree.
I think we're on blonde watch again.
And then it's either Sakkari or Haddad Maia to get to the quarters.
Wow.
And then it's Iga Swiatek, and we can
forget about it.
Okay.
I mean, listen, about Kalinskaya, I just feel it does depend which Swiatek you're going to get. If she's at her best, it's not going to be an upset. Simple as that.
Best match of the day today, certainly the best women's match of the day. I know you two watched the climaxes of a couple of thrilling men's matches, but the women's match of the day surely goes to Karolina Muchova's defeat of Sorana Castella 7-6, 6-7, 6-4 over on court 17. It was just a wonderful match. I mean, incredibly emotional, exhausting to watch, more exhausting to participate in. It looked early stages like Muchova was really struggling with her backhand, but it actually with her wrist and subsequently the backhand, it did seem to improve over the course of the match. But she's still not hitting over the backhand as much as she usually would. The default, I would say, is the slice. Luckily, she's got an incredible slice backhand, and she has so many tools in her arsenal. She's able to cover up for this deficiency, but it is a deficiency at the moment, and she knows it. And she looked utterly exhausted in the on-court interview, and I went to her press conference hoping that she might have, had some pasta and got some electrolytes on board and had a shower and perked up a bit, and she looked just as exhausted. And I do wonder if there were a lot of questions about the wrist from me and from Charlie Eccleshare, and I think there's reasons to be positive longer term, but I don't think she's that positive about her progression in this tournament. I asked her about Juan Martín Del Potro's run here in 2018, and when he was largely slicing his backhand after wrist surgery that sort of really compromised his game on that wing. And she said, no, I didn't really watch that run, but he is somebody that I've talked to. But I sensed from her answer almost a little bit of sadness, actually. She was kind of like, that's not what's going to happen here. Like, today was great, but I'm trying to think big picture.
Well, that tallies with my experience of talking to her on the opening weekend.
It hurts me a bit to say, because I'd love to get carried away about Karolina Muchova, especially having seen the scenes that I did today on court 17, which were absolutely epic. The way a lot of people would have arrived on that court. I know she's a 2-time semi-finalist here, but she's still not somebody that a lot of people coming to the tennis here would see the name of and go, oh, I want to see Karolina Muchova. A lot of people who showed up there either not really knowing her or the name ringing a bit of a bell, and they'd have walked away just having fallen in love with her game. That's what she does to people. So I'd love to get carried away, but she wasn't giving me a whole lot of reason to. So I'd say that's pretty good news for Linda Noskova that she faces in the next round, who got through via a retirement for Eva Lees today, which is tough to see. She was suffering with her back. Took an extensive medical timeout in the opening set. Actually came back and played really well for a short period afterwards, but ended up retiring 3-love down in the second. So tough scenes there. And Muchova to play Noskova in the third round. I prematurely mourned the Brazilian vibes yesterday.
You forgot about the OG.
Well, it's because Beatriz Haddad-Maia has not been doing a whole lot recently, but here she is in round 3 of a slam to take on Maria Sakkari.
Tennis Podcast Meets alumni from Wimbledon.
Who also hasn't been doing a whole lot recently. Haddad-Maia beat Victoria Golubic 6-1, 6-4. She'll take on Sakkari. One of these two is making it to week 2 of a slam. It's a huge deal for them both. Okay, it's only been a year for Haddad-Maia since she did that. She did it here in 2024, but it's been a tough old year for Haddad-Maia. And for Maria Sakkari, the last time she reached week 2 of a slam was Australia 2022. It's 3.5 years.
Yeah, before we sat down, we were joking at my expense about how I've taken an interest in almost the lost gen. We were referencing mostly the men's side, but actually when you mentioned those two, there's a couple of players that have had significant results, particularly Maria Sakkari, a top 10 player who's reached a Grand Slam semi-final, who has just not been a factor in a long time, and maybe she won't be here, but one of those two players is going to get a real run at things, and it's nice, isn't it? It's nice to see them having some results again, and look, they do bring fans with them. I mean, the Greek fans come out in force whenever Sakkari or Tsitsipas are playing. Haddad-Maia, she really embodies the Brazilian spirit of sport, and I'm never unhappy when she wins.
Matt's Greek double could be back on. Tsitsipas 3-2 in the fifth, currently over Daniel Altmaier.
Imagine.
On serve, let's not get too carried away.
Greek
he could be out in the
for
tournament.
Getting to the second week is the revised.
Yeah, big prediction.
Big prediction.
We'll keep you posted on Tsitsipas. You'll probably hear it, actually.
Just by the way, given it's that section that Haddad-Maia and Sakkari are in, and to play either Anisimova or Christian in the fourth round, just on the Anisimova joint match tonight, first time I've ever seen Maya Joint's eyes. It's a bit of an Anna Wintour
she's always
situation.
Wearing the wraparound. Excuse me, Matt, I have seen Anna Wintour's eyes.
I know you have.
But it's my biggest claim to fame.
What are they like?
Pretty shrunken into her head, because they never see the light of day.
Oh, okay.
My joints are not like that. I'm glad to report. But yeah, it just made me realise I've not seen her in a night session environment before. She's always playing in the day and always has the sunglasses on. She started the match well. She went up a break. She served for the first set against Anisimova tonight.
It staggers me that more tennis players don't play in sunglasses.
No, me too.
Staggers me. There's an awful lot of retinal damage that I see in ageing tennis players.
Yeah,
it's an under talked about issue. It's
Agreed.
Not for now, but maybe a friend's show. That's not really. It's not really enticing people to become a friend, is it? Laura Siegemund. She can't stop winning. Round 3 of another slam. Anastasia Zakharova, her victim today, 6-4, 6-2. She's got Alexandrova now, which I kind of think is a bit of a dream matchup for her.
I'm seriously fascinated by that conflict.
Yeah, and the winner of that plays Swiatek or Kalinskaya.
Intriguing section.
Very intriguing.
I want to see Swiatek Siegemund.
Yeah, I do as well.
Deanne Parry won a match that gives Mukova-Kostya a run for its money in terms of match of the day. Deciding set tiebreak for her over Renata Zarazua, of course. Madison Keys' conqueror. Both David and Amelie Mauresmo were watching.
Yes, we were. I certainly was anyway. And yes, reports that she was in the crowd. Amelie Mauresmo, I did see her around.
Yeah, finished post 7 p.m.
Yeah, I saw her around earlier on, and I did think...
Unbelievable.
You sure you can stay up this late for a women's match? But look, it was the most incredible atmosphere, and we've said that a lot about matches in the first 4 or 5 days here. So many players from nations that don't have a huge number of tennis players have had big moments this tournament. Indonesia, the Philippines, now here we are with Mexico, and I was actually standing next to the Arthur Stadium and heard this roar. And I was with a couple of people at the time. We were thinking, well, where has that come from? Hardly any of the matches are left, because it was the end of the day session. Suddenly realised it was just little court 5 over there, which had got thousands just packed in, and many hundreds also just sort of standing on stairways and standing on hedges and looking over fences in order to get a look at this match. And poor old Deanne Parry, she basically had Amelie Mauresmo and about 4 other people cheering for her, because the rest of them were cheering the player from Mexico.
Si se puede, they were saying.
Which is, yes, you can.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it was magical, really, and she fought her heart out. They went into a tie break. She went 8-4 down in the champions tie break, the match tie break, got it back to 8-7, and fair play to Diane Parry. I've seen her really tighten and crumble in some of those moments in the past, and she held it together. Even though there was one aging rally, she managed to win it to get to 9-7 and then got over the line. And I thought, fair play, you know. It was also great to see Zarazua's reaction at the end, where she's clearly disappointed, but she's also realising that she's going to remember this moment probably for the rest of her career, no matter what.
She plays Marta Kostyuk for a place in the second week, and the winner of that faces the winner of Noskova Mukova. So lots of opportunity out there. Last women's result to bring you. I wanted to mention that Venus Williams and Leylah Fernandez won their opening doubles match as wildcards, and they beat the 6th seed, Ludmila Khachanov and Ellen Perez, 7-6, 6-3. I'm here for it.
Oh, it was great. It was great. Venus described Fernandez as her best ever partner aside from Serena, and Fernandez loved that comment.
I'm thinking, how many she had?
Yeah, it was just really good vibes, and Venus said we matched each other's competitive energy. Like, they were down in that first set, and Venus was like, I don't want a partner who's giving up on the set just because we're down in it. Let's come back and try and win it, and they did. It was
Fernandez
really
doesn't
fun.
give up on anything.
Absolutely not.
And just finally, in doubles news today, Yelena Ostapenko and Barbora Krejcikova lost their opening match. And after a long delay, word eventually filtered down that Yelena Ostapenko, despite being requested to come and speak to the media, would not be coming to press due to illness. She has also deleted her final Instagram story from yesterday, the one which explicitly referenced the accusations of racism. She hasn't said anything further on Instagram. I think that sort of sequence of events kind of speaks for itself. One person who did speak on it today, though, and lots of different players were asked about it, including Naomi Osaka. There was kind of a little pause before she answered the question. I sense kind of deciding, do I pull the trigger here? And she did in an extremely gentle, measured way, but with her economical use of language, she did pull the trigger. And she said, it's one of the worst things. This is a reference, of course, to what Yelena Ostapenko had to say to Taylor Townsend after their match yesterday, accusing her of having no class and having no education. She said it's one of the worst things you can say to a black tennis player in a majority white sport. I think it's ill timing and the worst person you could ever said it to. And I don't know if Yelena Ostapenko knows the history of it in America. That is it for part one. We'll be back in part two to talk about the men. Before that, though, we want you to imagine a trip to tennis paradise.
Okay.
Yes, of course, I'm talking about Indian Wells, folks, and the BNP Paribas Open. As the official tennis package provider of the tournament, our longtime sponsors, Steve Fergal's International Tennis Tours, can get you there in style, closer than ever to the action. You can choose from 10 different types of accommodation, from 3-star hotels to 5-star resorts. There are all types of tickets to choose from. You can get a VIP guest credential. One of Naomi Osaka's Labubus has got a credential. So maybe they're just giving them out. But not VIP ones.
No.
You can also get access to the Fergal Lounge, a hospitality suite inside the main stadium at Indian Wells. Full bar, snacks, refreshments, all the good things. A bit like Matt's situation right now, with his iPad in front of him in a sort of sea of Fage yogurt and a little glass of rosé.
I could highly recommend it.
We've been there as well, haven't we?
Book your trip to Tennis Paradise in Indian Wells in March. To find out more, go to toursfortennis.com/podcast. Your trip awaits. Matt taking a little sip of rosé just to toast your trip. Welcome back to part two of the tennis podcast. On day 5 of the US Open, and we turn our attention now to the men's event, and we should probably start with Jannik Sinner. 6-3, 6-2, 6-2 over Alexei Popyrin today probably counts as a tough test for Jannik Sinner.
Well, I watched midway through the second set of this match. Alexei Popyrin put together one of the most impressive rallies I've seen this tournament. 31 strokes, going toe-to-toe with Jannik Sinner. He threw every shot he'd got at him, and he actually outlasted Sinner in this rally. And Sinner, at the end of it, as the crowd were going wild, put his hands on his knees, and he just sort of heaved for a while as he was trying to regain his breath and his composure. And I thought, hello, this is interesting. This had sent Sinner set and 3-2 up, but break point down. Suddenly the door is ajar, and I'm thinking, and you got Wayne Ferreira in the Alexei Popyrin coaching team. You're hearing him say, right, here's your chance, Alexei, you've set it up, let's go. And Popyrin's getting himself bumped up. He lost the next 3 points to lose the game and go 4-2 down. He then got broken to love, so he's 5-2 down. Then he didn't win another point in the set, and then he won one. He won one in the final game of the set, and I don't say that to disparage Alexei Popyrin, but actually at the moment that Sinner kind of looked finished for the set, it was the other way around. It was that point that I think just broke Popyrin. That's what it took to really hurt Sinner, and the way Sinner just gathered himself and just did it all again. I mean, the guy is a machine, and it takes something else to beat him. So, yeah, it was a match where I thought there was potential threat. There was threat of some degree because he's a big shot maker, Popyrin, but he was made to look like a pea shooter, really, by comparison to what Sinner had got.
I know that Hannah wrote a brilliant column after Wimbledon when she was talking about, her experience of watching Sinner live and how she felt like, the sort of Djokovic comparisons have maybe been slightly overplayed, and it was a really brilliant column. That quality, though, is such a Djokovic quality. Like, how often would Djokovic lose a great point and then just win all the next points to render that one pointless? And like, you end up almost leaving with a greater impression of the opponent because he's the one who's done this crazy thing and pulled it off. But Djokovic, or today Sinner, just like absolutely slammed the door shut. And I went out and watched the first set of this one in the stadium. He was unbelievable, Sinner. Like, so uncomplicatedly brilliant. Like, every return was going back deep on Popyrin's backhand, and then Sinner was just taking over from there. And Sinner spoke about how he didn't serve quite so well today, but he just felt like he was just absolutely crushing it off the ground, and that's absolutely what it felt like. There was one moment where Popyrin ran around a second serve and leathered a forehand return. I thought, wow, Sinner just flicked it for a winner. And it was everything we said yesterday about Alcaraz. I think we're probably quick to use words like phenomenal, dazzling, amazing about Carlos Alcaraz. Some of the stuff Sinner was doing today was quieter, but just as impressive, just as high a level of tennis. It's staggering to watch him like that. And he's now on this little streak, isn't he, in terms of like trying to correct some head-to-heads. Because we talked about the Felix Auger-Aliassime one, he'd had some wins against like pre-2023 acceleration Sinner. Popyrin was the same. He'd beaten Sinner, and now he's got Denis Shapovalov, who's also beaten a past version of him. And it just feels like all these guys are sort of coming up against him and being like, oh, I've stayed more or less the same, and Sinner has just zoomed past me.
He's gone into galactic.
And I really think Denis Shapovalov is about to have the same experience that Popyrin and Auger-Aliassime have just had.
Yeah, when Jannik Sinner was asked about Denis Shapovalov in his post-match press conference today, when he was asked, vis-a-vis the head-to-head, what was tough about Denis's game, he said, well, he's unpredictable.
I'll say.
Yeah. Over to Armstrong and the place that Matt started his day. Lorenzo Musetti and David Goffin.
I watched so many Italians today.
Comfortable in the end for Musetti, 6-4, 6-love, 6-2, but Goffin did at least prove that it's possible to generate break points on the Musetti serve, proving Matt's doubters wrong.
My haters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're out there. Dan Evans is one of them.
I've upset portions of France and Dan Evans.
Some of France is with you, though. You've had some support from the French media here.
I have.
And I've had it out with Dan.
Yeah.
That's continuing.
But no, I mean, David Goffin, yeah, he had break points in all three of Lorenzo Musetti's first service games. And actually, the first set of this was close. And arguably Goffin was the better player. You know, Musetti was really having to struggle in his service games, but he got through them. I kind of like against Mpesi Perika, once he got ahead, he opened up and he freed up and he hit some absolutely astonishing shots. There was just the most incredible backhand down the line early in the second set, kind of off one foot, falling away. Just absolutely awesome from Musetti. And he lost his last match against David Goffin on a hard court in Shanghai last year. So, you know, David Goffin in the year 2025 to make round 3 of a slam, where he's never been further than that on a hard court slam. Like, it was a decent draw for Musetti, but I thought he played well, and he talked in his post-match interview about how he is trying to be more aggressive and trying to use that forehand as a weapon. It's just that in the matches I've seen so far, he hasn't really come onto court being able to do that. It's taken grinding it out and getting the lead somehow to be able to allow him to sort of free up and play like that. I think he needs to start a match like that if he's really going to make progress. But yeah, you know, a nice win, and he now gets his good friend Flavio Cobolli in the next round. Yes.
What is this match going to be like? Because generally I don't like it when friends play one another.
They were last seen at Kings Island.
Exactly.
Water park.
I'm worried about the display of fangs that we'll see in this match. I'm not worried about the display of tennis and style. Flavio Cobolli, incidentally, today, just an absolutely incredible match. He beat Jenson Brooksby in 4 hours, 31 minutes in a deciding set tie-break. A match that Matt watched, as did two men wearing orange "Pretend I'm a Carrot" t-shirts.
Yeah, they've won the US Open. And they were sitting right behind Cobolli in the front row of Court 17, so they were constantly on camera, and Getty Images picked them out. Like, it was really, really fun. Jannik Sinner was playing at the same time, and you know, they obviously didn't have Ash tickets, or maybe they did, and maybe they just chose to go and watch Flavio Cobolli.
They wanted
instead.
Cobolli. 10 sets in 2 matches.
Yeah, and look, I did watch a lot of this. I had a lovely time. I rarely go out and watch that much of a best of 5 set match early in a slam, because there's just so much else going on. But I do love those media seats on 17 down so low. You're so immersed in it. And I had the afternoon sun just hitting me.
We're actually beneath the court, aren't we? Our head is basically court level, and the rest of our body's below the court.
Yeah, it's a pretty stunning position to get a certain perspective on the match. And look, really fun to see Jenson Brooksby back and playing well again, and playing in front of this home crowd who were going with him. They were pretty, well, obnoxious at times, I would say, but you know, it was a good atmosphere out there on Court 17. I felt that Cobolli always had more game, you know, always felt like he had the injection of pace. You know, Brooksby, he doesn't really swing, he just pats the ball on the backhand, he just bunts it around, but can put you in some really awkward spots. He uses angles well, but Cobolli, I thought he was going to win this in 4, but he lost his way in the 4th set and allowed Brooksby back in. But when he was going after the forehand and when he was taking charge of rallies, he was the one who I always thought was going to win it. But he had these match points in the 5th set, and Brooksby saved them in the most remarkable fashion. The first match point save from Brooksby in this match, I would urge everyone to look that up. Absolutely stunning rally and winner from Brooksby. It ended up in a in a fifth set tie-break, and having saved those match points, it was a case of Brooksby having worked his way back, but could he come all the way back? And I think it's hard when you've saved match points and suddenly feels like you might be able to win it. Just like the pressure shifts again, and Cobolli freed up and played a phenomenal tie-break. There was one forehand down the line that he absolutely smoked for a winner. And now he comes through to play Musetti, and I'm pleased because I wanted to see that match. Like, just two guys, just such great shot makers. I'm a little bit concerned about your feelings on this match as well.
Might all be a bit nice.
Yeah, but I think they both know it's an opportunity. And look, Musetti's talked about being desperate to get to Turin this year, and I think he knows that it's a genuine chance here. He's into this tournament for the first time on a hard court, in this little period of the season.
And Musetti did once beat an Italian child, Love and Love.
Yes, so Luca Nardi.
I think they'll go for it.
I think they will.
Who has more fang? Musetti's got more fang, hasn't he?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah, you think Cobolli's got fangs?
I think Cobolli's developing it. He's so young and new to this. Yeah, you forget. When I see him play Zverev, and I saw him play Djokovic, I doubt those things, Catherine. I really think
But isn't that the test of...
Yes.
That's the litmus test for fang.
But I think he's developing it.
Okay.
I do think that that's possible. I think it's in him. I think winning these 5-set matches, it's not ideal. He should be more efficient than that against these players. I think he's better than them. But at the same time, he still won them. And, it doesn't seem as though it's detracted from him physically. I don't think he's going to come out against Musetti and be feeling the effects of those 2 5-set matches. He looks super fit and strong and ready to go. And I just think he's learning as he goes, and he's getting more and more dangerous.
Okay, I will reserve my judgment.
I'm going Cobolli to win it.
David's such a Cobolli believer. Love it. He was also a Karen Khachanov believer, though, after Tennis Podcast Meets. And he lost from 5-2 up in the 5th today to, and I quote David Law here, the man with all the consonants in his name.
I'm still waiting for the Kamil Majacek Thomas Mahac match.
Right.
The commentators are going to struggle.
Yeah, another one that went to the deciding set tie-break, won by Majacek 10-5. Khachanov had 5 match points, David.
Ooh. Yeah, 5 match points.
Know that.
3 of them in one game when he was serving for it. And then at that point, because I was in the media centre with Catherine, it was 5-2 and I'd given up on this match. Suddenly, there's a break back and it looks like it's going to go into the tie-break. And I just bolted out of the media centre over to the court, same court that Ostapenko and Townsend were on, so I knew where to stand to get a good vantage point. When I got there, it looked like the tie-break wasn't going to happen, because suddenly Khachanov's 6-5 up, and Majacek's trying to get into this tie-break, and he's facing match points again at this point. Majacek manages to get into the tie-break, and he really took over at that point. I was surprised by Khachanov letting that go, but it actually felt, watching the tie-break, that Majacek doesn't really allow you much chance. He goes for it.
And it will be Majacek against Leandro Riedi for a place in the second week.
Who
this
also
slam.
had a long win today,
yeah, the world
he?
number 435. He has been a lot higher than that. He's been kind of on the brink of the world's top 100, but he's currently 435 in the world. Beat Francisco Cerundolo today from 2 sets to love down. Reed it against Majacek for a place in the second week. And Reedy was brought to press today for the Swiss media. I wasn't there in the press conference, but I saw the Swiss media coming away from it, and they were going, oh, he was really nice, which was obviously lovely, but also indicative of the fact that not even the Swiss media really know Leandro Riedi. And that is a huge opportunity. What a weird tournament Francisco Cerundolo had, by the way. He won from 2 sets love down in the first round. He lost from 2 sets love up today.
And his win from 2 sets love down was the first time he'd ever done that.
Wild tournament. Andrei Rublev trucking along, 4 sets for him today over Tristan Boyer, and he now plays, kind of continuing the theme that you talked about earlier, David, of players having success from less prominent parts of the world in terms of, tennis legacy. Coleman Wong from Hong Kong became the first player from Hong Kong to win a Grand Slam match when he won his first round. Well, he's won 2 in a row now and counting. Beat Adam Walton today, 7-6, 6-2, 4-6, 6-4, and he plays Andrei Rublev in the 3rd round. Did a bit of research into Coleman Wong. He's on a 5-match winning streak, including qualifying. He must be feeling hot right now. We all know that he trains at the Rafael Nadal Academy, that he's very close with Alexandre Ayala, and they really support one another, and they've kind of broken through at the same time. He moved there at the age of 17. The favourite thing I learned about him from my little bit of research was that he started playing tennis by accident at the age of 5. His older sister Ilana was meant to take a private lesson at Victoria Park, which is the home of the Hong Kong Open, the ATP tournament.
I've been there.
But Ilana fell ill. She's okay, I think. She got a cold or something. And parents, Bruce and Dora, didn't want to waste the money that they'd already spent. So in steps Coleman and takes the tennis lesson for her, and the rest is history.
That's great. And he has got some of the best post-match celebrations of anybody on the tour. Just he's so overwhelmed by the emotion of what he's achieved, and it's just written all over his face, and he really lets you know.
It's match point Tsitsipas. Has he done it?
He's not done it. Altmaier has fended it off. Tsitsipas absolutely striped that return, and Altmaier sort of blocked it and ended up drawing the error out of Tsitsipas.
And how far away is grandstand from here? I mean, you can hear the roars.
We will hear it. We will absolutely.
It's a long way,
I think
isn't it?
The listeners will hear it when that match finishes, no matter what happens. Provided it's within the next 10 minutes or so. It looks pretty destined for a match tie-break.
It's a good 100 metres away, isn't it?
But we'll see.
Amazing.
Alexander Zverev, straight sets for him over Jacob Fernley, 4-4 and 4. A real, last gasp bit of inspiration from Jacob Fernley in this match. He was clearly struggling with his right arm throughout the match. I think he's been struggling with his arm all summer and kind of playing through it, but he got inspired at the end of this match, and he got the crowd with him. He was double breakdown, got one of them back, had break points to get the second one back. He had Zverev looking a little bit stressed, actually, and at the net Zverev said, "Where'd that come from, mate?"
Yeah, I thought that was a really shitty comment, to be honest, because yes, Fernley did play really well, actually, and 6-4, 6-4, 6-4 is not really the match that I was watching. I think he was trying to be funny, but I thought, crikey, that's a bit disparaging, really, to this guy. And I definitely don't think Zverev is playing in the first 2 rounds the way he was in Cincinnati. He's reverted to type. So far, he's gone in his shell, and he's winning matches on the back foot and surviving. That isn't going to get it done in this tournament. Like I said, he should be getting to the semi-finals at least with his draw, but he's going to have to play more aggressively than that.
Felix Auger-Aliassime next for him, who you've become a believer in because of Tennis Podcast Meets.
Yeah, we had our little chat. I had my little pep talk, and it's one of that fascinates me because they've played several times. Zverev has a handy lead in the head-to-head, but Auger-Aliassime has beaten him at Wimbledon. And I know this is different, but what an opportunity for him to show how he's come on. I mean, he played Roman Safulin today, beat him in straight sets. It was a bit dicey in the third. He was a breakdown.
Played the big points well in that second set.
Absolutely. I think, look, he has got a fairly basic game. He's built around a serve and a forehand and movement. And look, I don't think he's going to get a whole lot better than that. But if those 3 are functioning well, he can win big matches. He's got to believe in them because he's got a chance in that match.
Tommy Paul, I think, has won in the second night session. No. Oh.
No, he's in a 4th set.
He won the first two.
The big roar you heard was for Nuno Borges.
Was it?
Yeah, I was shook as well.
I didn't even fact-check the roar.
No.
I just assumed that would be for Tommy Paul.
Yeah.
Are the Arthur Ashe Stadium getting into Nuno Borges as we speak?
It would appear so. Maybe they just wanted more tennis.
Winner of that plays Alexander Bublik, who ended the Tristan Schul-Hate fun. And in fact, the Tristan Schul-Hate fun was already over because the umpire today was boringly professional.
He just said Schoolcate.
And knew how to pronounce Tristan Schoolcate.
Damien Dumassois, I think it was.
Right. Damn him. Bublik's quietly looking quite good, though.
He's looking a lot better than I thought he would.
It's awesome to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems to have just carried on the form that he had a few weeks ago, and he hasn't played on the hard courts, and yet here he is, not worrying about the surface, just doing his thing. Do
you think that roar was for Nuno Borges?
It is quite difficult to discern which one's the one for Tsitsipas and Altmaier.
I think that might have been for Altmaier. He's got break point at 5-all in the fifth.
Okay, right, that's it for part 2. Come back for part 3 and we should be able to get the Tsitsipas Altmaier result in and some soon to be out of date Nuno Borges updates. Welcome back to part 3 of the tennis podcast, where while Matt watches the closing stages of Stefanos Tsitsipas in a 5th set against Daniel Altmaier, I will whiz you through the order of play for tomorrow, day 6 of the US Open, and hopefully David can give some takes.
It's a good one tomorrow.
It's good tomorrow. It's really good.
Especially the women's matches.
Yeah, we open on Arthur Ashe Stadium at 11:30 a.m. with Carlos Alcaraz against Luciano Darderi. Djokovic had the early spot, now Alcaraz has it.
I must admit, that must be the earliest I've ever seen Alcaraz play.
I think he'll like it, though. I certainly think he'll like, yeah. Do you know what he doesn't like? How quickly his hair grows.
Really?
Yeah.
He said it makes him angry. I'm unable to appreciate a good haircut,
yes.
he said.
He said in a few days' time, you'll see a different hair.
So that's first on Ashe. Second on Ashe is Jessica Pegula against Victoria Azarenka.
Wow. I saw them play at the Australian Open 2 or 3 years ago, and Azarenka won.
That was a real chance at the time, wasn't it, for Pegula to break her quarter-final problem that she had, but I think she's a big favourite tomorrow.
Night session is Novak Djokovic against Cameron Norrie.
Be interesting, because
you've got a feeling, Catherine.
I don't have a feeling. I've got a desperation for a Hail Mary to get some points.
But Catherine may have done a Cameron Norrie thing.
I surprised even myself.
It hasn't been sent yet. She might change her mind. But look, I stand by what I said yesterday. I think this is the chance for Djokovic to find some form, and he needs to. The deadline is there. The pressure is there. But I also think night session favours him now. That he wants to be under the lights. And first match-up, that suits him down to the ground.
I remember in the spring he played Cameron Norrie, didn't he, in a tournament before the French Open. It was a bit of a grind. It was 2 really tight sets, and then eventually he came through. But then he played him at the French Open, and he absolutely crushed him. I think he realised that he's got to just, as you said, David, let it fly a little bit against Cameron Norrie. He doesn't want to get involved in a grueling physical battle against him. This is the one to try and just hit Norrie off the court.
Second in the night session on Ashe is Taylor Townsend against Mira Andreeva. Second in the night session. I mean, that could become, even if that's straight sets, that's probably coming on post 10 p.m.
Yeah, look, I think
it could be coming on at midnight.
I think the best hope for that match is that people have needed a few drinks to get through Djokovic Norrie, and they're loose and they're ready to bring an atmosphere for.
I hear you,
Andreeva Townsend. You know what I'm saying?
We might be doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it does feel a bit hidden away. I thought that match would be on Armstrong.
Me too.
I thought that would be the 7 p.m. slot on Armstrong.
Yeah, me too. Armstrong starts tomorrow with Elena Rybakina against Emma Raducanu. Again, feels like that could have had higher billing, but I know that British TV will have been really pushing to get Emma Raducanu in an early slot, and that does make total sense. Anyone you've maybe done a Raducanu thing in the newsletter? Who could say? Sign up for the newsletter to find out.
I do feel like Raducanu has been, progressing and working her way to having a big win. And
feels like the next step, doesn't it?
It does feel like the next step. And I suppose it's a question of whether you think Rybakina is going to be at her absolute best. Because I think if Rybakina is at her absolute best, it's going to be tricky for Raducanu. But I don't know, I just think I've got a feeling for Raducanu tomorrow.
Second on Armstrong day session is Ben Shelton against Adrian Mannarino. Mannarino, the only player that has brought me any points so far in the predictions competition. I thought about going back to the well tomorrow, but I thought don't be silly, Catherine. And the night session on Armstrong,
Shelton will be all right,
is Leylah Fernandez against Arina Sabalenka, and second on is Jerome Kim, another unexpected Swiss player, against Taylor Fritz. Live news from Grandstand, Matt.
Stefanos Tsitsipas is out. Altmaier has served it out, and now they've had words at the net.
Oh my!
Altmaier is
goodness.
not happy with something Tsitsipas has said there, I think.
Turned his back on him and walked off.
And we have heard a bit of booing, haven't we? We're a few moments behind on the feed. Goodness me. I know that Apostolos Tsitsipas got a warning earlier in the match for coaching, which is pretty good going, given coaching's allowed. I don't know exactly what he did, but something out of line. Apostolos.
It's just like it just shows how
he's just walking past Apostolos. Literally, I manifested him, which I think means that sad Stefanos is about to walk past us. So let's all brace ourselves for that.
I think it just shows how. Look, Altmaier's a very good player. You can lose to Daniel Altmaier, but I think it shows how sort of deeply embedded the Tsitsipas problems are. Like he talked the other day about feeling revitalised and suddenly having all his confidence back, but you just can't get back from the depths he's been in one match, I don't think.
No, and then listen, he said that to me in the press conference, and it was, I felt like he was trying to manifest it into reality by saying it, and he was 2-1 up here, and he just won 2 sets, 6-1, 6-4, and he'd gone 1-love up in the fourth. I turned away to Catherine and said, Tsitsipas is really starting to fire here. Came back to the screen, 10 minutes later he's 4-1 down. It's...
And he kind of did that against Muller, didn't he? In the fourth set, he kind of thought he's going to close this easily, and suddenly he's in a tie-break.
He shouldn't be losing from 2-1 up like that. Not the guy he used to be.
No. Alrighty then, back to tomorrow's order of play. On Grandstand, we have Jiri Lehečka against Collignon, the guy that beat Casper Ruud. I've already forgotten his first name. It's Raphael. There we go.
With a PH.
Yes, the Belgian guy. Got a big game, actually, Collignon. He takes on Lehečka tomorrow. These are around 3 matches. Of course, second on Armstrong tomorrow. This is one of the ones. Jasmine Paolini against Marketa Vondrousova.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
I've got this in the newsletter predictions, and I'm not going to tell you who.
David's broken what I consider
rule
to be the golden predictions rule, which is to never make Marketa Vondrousova predictions.
You did break it once too.
You talked me out of it, I think.
Oh, you're welcome.
Whereas I've just stared it down and I've said, come on then.
Third on Grandstand, Francis Tiafoe against Jan-Lennard Struff, and fourth on is Barbora Krejcikova against Emma Navarro.
Very intrigued by that one.
All French tie between Benjamin Bonzi and Arthur Rinderknecht, first on Stadium 17. Buksha Mertens, obviously Mertens aiming to set up the big Sabalenka upset in round 4. Priscilla Hon against Anne Lee.
If that actually happens,
honestly,
Hannah is going to have so much material to come out.
If that actually happens, we're going to start putting money on Julian Niemeyer to win Wimbledon one day. No one's forgetting that prediction, Hannah. Finally on 17 tomorrow, Hugo Blanchet against Thomas Mahach. What else have we got tomorrow?
No comment.
My goodness me, it's all doubles. It's all doubles, and who is Carrie Leeds? And why am I... What are these matches?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about yesterday. I find it really annoying that they put those on the official order of play. It's like all the like juniors and like qualifying for juniors, and yet you see them on the order of play and you think, what are these matches? Oh no.
Yeah, boys qualifying singles round 2.
Yeah.
That should be on a separate page at the website.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that is all the headline stuff that you need to know about for tomorrow. How's Nuno Borges trucking along?
2-2 in the fourth with Tommy Paul.
Folks, please forgive us that we're not going to drag out this podcast long enough to tell you whether Nuno Borges comes all the way back. But in the words of Matt Roberts, there's always another podcast.
And there's Google.
And there's Google. Yeah, that too. So yeah, we'll let you know tomorrow if you can't bring yourself to Google what the result was before then. We have a mascot for today's episode. That mascot is Rusk. Quite like that name. Rusk is owned by Katie. Rusk, oh my goodness, look at this picture. It's another big tongue, David.
Oh yeah, I like those.
It's another very big tongue in a sea of lavender. It's a very beautiful picture. Rusk is a 12-year-old red heeler boxer mix, or at least that's what the shelter told us, says Katie. He lives with me, his mum, in Austin, Texas. My sister Sarah picked him out after I begged her to let me adopt a dog. We were roommates at the time. Oh, that's lovely. We brought him home at 8 weeks old on February the 13th, 2013, and he's been the best Valentine for the past 12 years. He was an excellent hiking companion for a decade, only slowing down in the last year. He loves getting long walks while I listen to the tennis podcast. He could not care less about my spare tennis balls and often gives me disdainful looks when I'm cheering or pacing during a particularly tense televised tennis match. He has perfected his judgmental look over the years. He loves a puppy, helping raise 2 of my best friend's puppies. That is truly adorable. As well as his doggy cousin over his many years. He insists on a peanut butter filled Kong every night and will huff and stomp around if he believes you forgot or are late. Most of all, he's brought me such joy over these past 12 and a half years on our many adventures and cuddles on the couch. That is absolutely lovely, Casey. You've basically described everything that having a dog is about. What an incredible companion. What a good boy. He's absolutely lovely. So thank you, Katie. Thank you, Rusk, for being our mascot for this episode. Hello, of course, to our mascots. I received Phoebe content today, sliding into our DMs.
Anything from Maisie?
No.
All right, Maisie, send me a picture.
But it's always welcome, as is Roger content. The gauntlet has been laid down by Phoebe, who, just a lovely picture of Phoebe, arrived sort of midway through the first set of Gauff Vekic when I most needed a pick-me-up.
Really needed it.
It's very welcome. Thank you, Priyanka.
By the way, I've just discovered that the tete-a-tete at the net between Tsitsipas and Altmaier was Tsitsipas unhappy about an underarm serve.
Oh, get over it.
Altmaier did.
Get in the bin, Stefanos.
No time for that.
Absolutely none. Come on. We have our top folks and executive producers, Greg, Chris and Jeff. Let's have some shout-outs, Matt.
We have Francis Wynn.
Hello, Francis.
Hi,
like
Francis.
Tiafo.
Yeah.
And Francis says, everyone calls me Fran. I have 2 small children, so don't get much time to watch the tennis these days, so the pod has been my lifeline since 2018.
Oh, when Matt Roberts came on board.
Just was searching for some Karen Khachanov takes.
Fran like Fran Jones.
Yeah.
Very good.
We like Fran Jones.
We do.
And we like Fran.
We've also got Marty Betton.
Hello, Marty.
Right, Marty. Like Marty Mulligan. Yeah.
We've
player.
had Marty before,
Yes.
haven't we? And I've said Marty McFly.
Yeah.
And I reckon I've also said that Marty is an abbreviation of Martin that only exists in America. Like, Brits just don't go for Marty, do they? It's too fun. We're not like that. Martin, you've got to be Martin. You've got to wear a tie.
Like Martin Dam.
Like Martin Dam and Martin Dam Jr.
See, Marty Dam would work.
Do we know Marty is originally a yeah, it's not short for anything else, is
really,
it?
Martha.
Oh!
But I was enjoying all of that so much. I didn't want to stop you in your flow.
Tennis Marthas. Let's. I don't think this Marty was probably expecting a load of Martin Dam parallels.
But we're on a bit of a roll there, so you
Martha. Marty, we will let you. I'm sure Pam will be in touch with some tennis Marthas. Back in the Donna Vekic box tonight was Pam.
Yes.
Marty, thank you, and sorry for the Martin Dam Jr. content that you didn't want.
And finally, we have Jessica Schaefer.
Oh, we know Jessica Schaefer.
Right, Jessica.
We do. Jessica is from New York. And Jessica says, 2025 has been a rough year in all things except tennis fandom. And I'm so grateful to have the pod and the barge as a place of refuge.
Aww.
We love having you on the barge, Jessica.
We do.
Like Jessica Pegula.
That's right.
Who plays Victoria Azarenka tomorrow, when we will be back with our Day 6 tennis podcast to wrap it all up. We are, of course, part of the Athletic Podcast Network. Nuno Borges is breakpoint up in the fourth. Who knows what could happen? We'll be back to tell you about it tomorrow. Thanks for listening. We'll speak to you then.